Thanks for joining us on KHOU 11 Plus. I'm María Aguilera. Hispanic Heritage Month is now underway, and today we want to talk about what it means to be Hispanic. Gracias por acompañarnos en KHOU 11 Plus. Soy María Aguilera. El mes de la herencia hispana ya está en marcha y hoy queremos hablar sobre lo que significa ser hispano. Hispanic Heritage Month is celebrated September 15 to October 15. It honors the histories, cultures, and contributions of Hispanic and Latino Americans. Tonight's panel celebrates Latino identity, explores diverse experiences, and looks at what it means to be Latino today in Houston and across the U.S. El mes de la herencia hispana se celebra del 15 de septiembre al 15 de octubre. Honra las historias, culturas y contribuciones de los hispanoamericanos y latinoamericanos. Este panel celebra la identidad latina, destaca experiencias diversas y explora lo que significa ser latino hoy en Houston y en todo Estados Unidos. Hoy nos acompañan, joining me today are Carlos Eduardo Espina, a content creator and community activist, the Director of Community Engagement at Houston Sports Authority, María Durán, the President of the League of Women Voters of Houston, Priscila, and Dr. Sergio Lira, one of LULAC's leaders. Thank you all for joining us today. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos. So we're going to go ahead and get started with everybody telling us a little bit about yourselves. So go ahead and start.
Oh, am I first?
Yeah,
all right,
sure.
Yes, I am. So my name is Carlos Eduardo Espina. My mom's from Mexico. My dad's from Uruguay, but I grew up in College Station, Texas my whole life. I went to undergraduate college at Vassar College in New York, then went to law school in Las Vegas, and moved to Houston maybe about 7 months ago now. So I'm still trying to figure out what a big city is like, having grown up in College Station. But it's not too far away. So, I'm really involved in the community, do a lot of stuff around soccer, and then I also have my social media platforms where I have over 20 million followers across different platforms. I make daily content about immigration, politics, social issues, everything going on in our community, mostly in Spanish. So I have a lot of, Latinos who speak Spanish. I mean, there's over 60 million Spanish speakers here in the United States. So I've tapped into that community and have, that's what I do day in and day out.
Amazing. María?
Amazing. Well, I'm María Durán. I am director of the Harris County Houston Sports Authority, but I was born in El Salvador, así que Guanaca 100%. I have lived here in Houston, the Houston area, most of my life, and graduated from the University of Houston. I've been working in sports now almost 20 years. Have a love for soccer as well. And I also started an initiative called Central American Collective, where we promote Central American art and culture. And right now we're doing a lot to uplift our community and also incorporate sports and some of the programming that we're doing in Central America as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Priscila?
Priscila True. Yo nací en Mérida, Yucatán, México. Soy mexicana. Me vine a los Estados Unidos a los 12 años. So I was born in Mexico and I moved here at the age of 12. So that's roughly around 6th grade, and since then I've lived in San Antonio. Currently the League of Women Voters president, and there we do a lot of focus on getting voters registered and also providing accessible language access to Spanish speakers, as well as the helplines that we do in multiple languages. So for me, whenever I came into this country, I literally did not have a voice because I didn't speak English. So once I learned English, eventually in college, I learned the power of my voice through civic engagement. And that is why I do the work that I do today to ensure that our community has a voice. And I believe that can be done through civic engagement.
That's amazing. And Dr. Sergio Lira?
Yes, I'm Dr. Sergio Lira. I was born and raised in Houston. My parents are from Mexico, both of them from Monterrey. And my older siblings migrated with them when they came here to Houston, lived in Houston all my life. And I'm the president of Greater Houston LULAC 4967. I've been an educator for 30 years, both in elementary and high school, and also taught a few courses in college. But it's important to empower the youth, and not only am I president of Greater Houston LULAC, but I'm also president of TMAC, which is the Texas Multicultural Coalition Advocacy Group. And this is a broader base coalition of other groups, and we advocate for civil rights and education and criminal justice. And Carlos, I only have 100 followers on Facebook. I'm from a different generation.
I don't think even all of us combined have as many followers as he has. That is a lot of followers, and the millions is like, that's amazing.
From a different generation.
So let's go ahead and start off with the first question. So start by sharing what being Latino means to you today, and how do your roots shape your identity? So I'm going to ask you in Spanish. You can share it in English and in Spanish as well. Para empezar, compartan con nosotros qué significa para ustedes ser latino hoy y cómo lo influyen sus raíces.
Okay.
Who wants to get started? Priscila.
Pues ser latina para mí significa que vengo de un país que tiene mucha cultura y mi familia me inculcó muchas cosas como la unidad, having family around you, not only that, but the language, the cultures that we share and everything. So whenever I do anything today, oftentimes in Houston, I don't meet a lot of people from my region of Mexico. So I'm very proud of my heritage and what it means to me. And I think being Latino is not just a checkbox that we check every day. It's our identity of who we are today and how we're being represented here in our communities.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, being Latino really has really changed. When I was a young, growing up here in Houston, where we faced a lot of discrimination actually, and growing up in a poor, low-income area, our parents, we had to hold on to our heritage more so than ever before. Mm-hmm. There was no social media, there was no mainstream media, just a few channels. And now, at that time, I realized that, as you mentioned, Priscilla, the values that were instilled from Mexico of familia, el respeto ajeno, el respeto a los mayores. Those values is our cultural DNA. And unfortunately, I see that it's being lost in this generation, those values. And that I see being Latino more challenging now than ever before because of the diversity, the influences that are happening now with this younger generation. But I remain hopeful now more than ever. Not only this month, but every day, be proud of your culture, your roots, because it is your cultural DNA. It is your identity. And if you lose your identity, you've lost your soul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maria, would you like to share?
Yeah, no, I mean, to me, it really has been a superpower. And I say that because, working in the sports industry now for 20 years, having Latino roots, was very, very important in the development within the profession, and being able to make sure that we're making space for our communities, not only in the industry but also in all of the other different projects that I've been able to get involved in. And so being able to understand what it means to be Latina, what it means to be Salvadoreña, Centroamericana, being able to tap into all of the different things that you talked about, from your values to to like your food, and just understanding all of those pieces and being able to incorporate that, and then just knowing that there's also like this amazing community here in Houston that you can that embraces that. To me, I truly do believe that it's a superpower, and it's one that we need to continue to really hold dearly, and not only during Hispanic Heritage Month, hacerlo lucir, but lucirlo todos los días.
Sí. Carlos?
Yeah, no, well, for me being Latino, it's almost like, a blessing. A lot of times it gets talked about as like, oh, it's a disadvantage, you're a minority, this and that. But for me, I wouldn't have it any other way. I think everything that I do, whether or not I realize it, is based in the identity that you have. The same goes for every other person. I mean, that's where, your culture, your values, your identity comes from. And for me, just being Latino means, being someone who cares about others, someone who has family values, someone, who sees their neighbors and wants to help out. And here in Houston and in Texas specifically, it means being a part of something bigger than just yourself. Every time, you go into a restaurant or anywhere now, you see Latinos everywhere, and having that, that same understanding, and you see each other, and especially like myself, that people follow me and know me, and they immediately identify me, and we're able to share similar experiences, even though we're not from the same country, or, maybe we're from different backgrounds, but we still have this overarching, Latino identity, whether we're from Mexico, Guatemala, born here in the U.S., whatever. And I think that is just really awesome, because you always feel like you're part of something. You never feel alone, essentially. So that's what really makes me proud to be Latino, because I feel like, there's always, my people are always there for me, and I'm there for them.
Yeah, and seeing you all here today is a perfect example that Latinos are not a monolith. Los Latinos no somos un monolito. We come from different countries. We have different backgrounds. I'm Mexican. A lot of people at times consider a lot of Latinos, oh, you're Mexican. And there's so many other countries, and this shows here today. So talk to me about what unites us, qué nos une, y nuestras experiencias distintas, especially in our differences and our experiences in our countries.
Well, I think we have, the experiences that we from your home countries, but also what unites us here. And I think whether you're from Mexico or Central America or South America or the Caribbean, we're all here in the United States, usually for the same reasons. I would say the vast majority of us and our families came to this country for a better life, for better opportunity. And so what defines us is that we're hardworking, we're dedicated, we care about, our family, we care about those who come before us and those who came after us. And I think that's really what identifies us. If you see, most of the connections you make is around, your job, places of, going to play sports, but a lot of times you go play sports so you don't have to think about your job, those kinds of things. So like those kind of similar overlapping activities that we do, I think is what really unites us. And then obviously there's factors like the language, the foods that we eat. Even though they're diverse from country to country, there's still a lot of overlap from each region. And I think here in the United States, once we're all together, it makes like this very interesting blend where you have people from Mexico who are talking like they're from Honduras, and then people from like the accents mix and all that kind of stuff, and we get this really cool blend here in the United States. So it's really nice.
And Maria, we're talking about sports just now. Sports is something that really unites a lot of people. Talk to me about that.
It unites us, but it can also, divide us a little bit, especially during major tournaments. No, but, so working, I worked 10 years at the Houston Dynamo, the first 10 years of the team. And so I was going out and doing all of the grassroots for the team. And I can tell you that at the beginning, yes, there was a lot of, well, I'm Mexican, and so I'm a Americanista, 100%. And then I would always say, but why don't you just come and check us out? just come. Just you never know. And it's funny how you have, like the older generations who, yes, they will wear their jersey from wherever they are, from their club team, or from, the whatever, Selección Nacional, but then you have their kids. And their kids are the ones that are now, wearing the orange. They're the ones that are like, yeah, I grew up, watching Brian Ching, or, Stewart, or, some of the younger guys nowadays. And so it's really fun to see how that evolution is, and how we can still maintain our cultural identity even through sports. We can still be a family that is 100% whatever club, but then you're still embracing, where you currently are, and then you also see the jerseys that are like half, like half one club, half the other, and I'm like, you know what? Yes. I love that too. Let's do it. And so, yeah, I think sports is one of those places where there's a little banter and there's a little fun, but at the end of the day, it really does bring us all together.
And it's interesting to me, you're talking about the younger generations, which is actually, one of the next questions that we're going to get to, which is how do you see younger generations embracing what it means to be Latino? Dr. Lira, you said, you have been in the community for a really long time, and you've been really involved for a really long time. How have you seen the younger generations embracing being Latino? ¿Cómo ve a las generaciones que adoptan lo que significa ser Latino, las nuevas generaciones?
It's challenging. Yo creo que los jóvenes de hoy están perdiendo esa cultura, esos the new generation is becoming more difficult and challenging to to be in touch with their culture. Let me explain why. Very few are traveling back to their homeland, to their roots, and to be immersed in their culture and their religion. If you go back to your roots, you'll see where you came from, and then you figure out where you are and where you're going. The other issue is that their history is being erased in our educational system. So when I was growing up, I didn't see any role models in the history Texas books or in the national books. Y ahora menos. So it's much more challenging for this generation to appreciate hablar español, enseñándoles español, que hablen español en la casa, lo que significa Día de los Muertos, etcétera, etcétera. Es mucho más difícil porque la información que ellos reciben es mucho más rápido y les influye mucho más rápido, as opposed to when I was growing up, when only you had a few channels, a few platforms, and also you live with your parents and your abuelos, and so that was the richness. But it's much more challenging for this generation to hold on to that culture and connect with that culture. I'm constantly trying to teach Latinos their culture. I was at the university the other day, and I spoke to 100 students, and half of them didn't know who Cesar Chavez was. And that's sad, and it's really sad. So it's challenging, but not impossible. I remain hopeful, and I'm hoping that the social media world starts embracing a little bit more cultural as opposed to popular ideas.
Mm-hmm. Priscila, how would you say that you see the younger generations, and also how can we get younger generations to continue to speak the language and be part of the culture? ¿Cómo puedes ayudar a las nuevas generaciones a continuar a hablar el idioma y no perder sus culturas y sus raíces?
So this is interesting for me because whenever I moved here, my first language was Spanish. Mm-hmm. And then whenever I was in high school, there was a period of time where, you would feel you weren't forced to, but because sometimes I would get bullied, I would feel shame of, speaking Spanish or not belonging because I didn't go to a predominantly Hispanic school. There were a few Latinos. So then you go into this period where you only start speaking English and you want to assimilate and you want to belong. And then I went to college, and in college I went to San Antonio, which San Antonio at my university, it was like all Latinos, only Spanish speaking. And then that brought me back to my roots and everything. But beyond that, I also have the privilege that my family all still lives in Mexico. My parents moved back to Mexico. So I get the chance to go there. I know a lot about the history and the things that we learn. But like Dr. Lira said, something that is important, the Mexican history I learned is not the same history I learned in Texas. As an example, I'm just gonna name like the Alamo. That's not how I learned it in Mexico than how I learned it here. So sometimes it's important for us to remember our histories and also the struggles that our communities went through during the civil rights and through different movements to remind our generations why our rights and everything that we have today are worth fighting for. Mm-hmm. So it's important for us to do that. I don't think we're lost or gone because I speak Spanish still, and I think young people are tied to their cultures and traditions, but I think with the history and other facts, we could do a little better.
Yeah. And Maria, I saw you nodding and like you have something to add as well.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree. I agree with both in the sense that I saw that there was a little bit of that loss, right, of culture. And that was actually one of the reasons why we started Central American Collective, because as a Centroamericana, as a Salvadoreña, when you're learning about world history, I mean, it's a sentence, it's just one sentence. It exists, it's there, that's it. And so, and also with just the demographics changing so much, especially here in Houston, you have a Central American community that has grown so much over the last couple of years. Then we saw that as an opportunity to really embrace that and say, you know what, if nobody else is going to talk about us and uplift us and share our history, then we need to be the ones that step up and do it. And so, that's kind of the position that we've taken in order to make sure that we are doing that we are working with schools and, community centers and bringing in some curriculum, some activities, that we are highlighting, special dates, and that we're going to schools, and then that we're just finding different ways to really highlight what our community members have done, so that young generations can embrace that and say, oh, bueno, yo soy de Honduras, okay, you know, Bonnier que estuvo en el Houston Dynamo, así que, okay, yo sé que yo puedo ser como él. Or, you know, yo soy de Costa Rica y sé que tenemos ahora personas que están en diferentes gremios, yo puedo ser como ellos. So we really want to do that, and so I think that maybe there is a little bit of that loss, but I also feel very passionate and strongly feel that it's up to us to make sure that we are finding ways to not lose that, and building resources, using our platforms, you know, using our voice to make sure that our younger generations are empowered through our roots and our culture.
Yeah, Carlos, how do you see the younger generations? We know that social media is a huge platform and how people consume information. Younger generations consume information through social media. Even older generations, my mom loves Facebook. So she, you know, she's on Facebook, she's on TikTok. I am. So talk to me how you're seeing it, and the people that follow you, your followers, what are you seeing in them, especially in Latinos? ¿Qué es lo que notas en las nuevas generaciones, especialmente los latinos que te siguen en medios sociales?
Yeah, well, I think there's a misconception a lot of young people have that they believe to be part of this country, you almost have to distance yourself from your ancestors or your parents' country. But I think there's a way, you know, to do both. Obviously, there are certain things that are different here in the United States, and we have to adapt and we have to become accustomed to. I always advocate, for example, I think you should learn English, but that doesn't mean you should forget Spanish or not teach your children Spanish. So, you know, when you mix the best of, you know, your Latin American culture and then, you know, American culture, what here in the United States, you end up getting this very powerful mix where now you're bilingual, now you know you can travel to Latin America and you can, you know, te puede ir muy bien ahí, o sea, no tienes que sacrificar uno para sentirte como parte de otro, but I feel like a lot of young people have that misconception. And I think the other issue is too that unfortunately, you know, a lot of young people just don't get that exposure enough of, you know, to their culture, to their roots, and so they maybe adopt some of like the most negative parts of it, which can be unfortunate. For example, this brings back an anecdote. I'm like, I remember when I was in college, and, you know, I was part of like this Latino organization, and they were like doing organizing for Hispanic Heritage Month, and everything was based around like parties and alcohol and all that. And I'm like, oh, that's not really like Hispanic and Latino culture, you know, like there's way more to it. There's art, there's music, there's a history to it. And if we don't learn that and we think all our culture is, you know, watching soccer and getting drunk and, you know, going to the stadium, it's like, okay, maybe, but like that's not who we are. There's so much more to it. So I think those of us who have that deeper understanding have the responsibility to teach, you know, the younger generations, like the positive parts of the culture, like you were saying, the history part. When you have young people who don't know, you know, who Cesar Chavez is, or even other historical figures, that's an issue. So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done there, and that starts, you know, at home. Obviously, I encourage parents to teach their children, but the reality is a lot of parents don't have that ability to be at home 24/7 teaching their children. So that's where community leaders need to step in and be able to have that programming and have those opportunities for people to feel involved and feel like they're a part of something. But I am, you know, despite everything, hopeful for the future. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we remain hopeful.
Yeah.
That's the best part. Now, how do we navigate being fully Latino and Hispanic and being fully American? You talked about that a little bit just now. So how can you navigate being both? ¿Cómo podemos navegar ser completamente Latino y también aquí americano en los Estados Unidos?
So there's a saying that they use in Spanish, ni de aquí, ni de allá. And so that means neither here nor there. So it's kind of like the fine balance that you walk in being there. But one of the things that I would like to address specifically on this is sometimes there's this test. Are you American enough? Because you embrace your Hispanic identity. And the truth is that Hispanics who are living in the US, at least for myself, and I can probably say everybody on this panel, this country gave us the lives that we have today. And we're grateful for what it has done for us, and we don't need to prove that we're American enough because we also embrace our Latino identity. Because the truth is that we wouldn't be here supporting the country. We contribute $4 trillion to the economy. That would make us the 5th largest economy in the world. We're hardworking, we come here, we do this to make better lives. So I think it's important that when people make those distinctions, that we remind them that we're just as American as anybody else.
I just want to add that that's a really good point, because we're all Americans. We're actually standing on the land that was Mexico. This is Texas. So we are America, and we are Americans, but our identity and our ethnicity is a different culture, and we have to remember that to distinguish. So the perception is that eres americano if you're a white Anglo-Saxon, but you don't have to be white Anglo-Saxon to say you're an American. Yo soy americano. I'm an American citizen. I have the rights and privileges of anyone else in this country. My grandfather fought in World War II against the Nazi regimes, and my brother fought in Vietnam. So we are entitled to all the rights and privileges of this country, and always remember that we're nothing less than the white Anglo-Saxon that we think is the Americano. We're just as American as he, and he's as American as us. They may have economic power, but that doesn't mean that they're more American than us.
And now, obviously Latinos and our Hispanic culture, it's very colorful, it's bright, it's vibrant, we love music and food. So ahora les voy a hacer una pregunta en español. Compartan conmigo una tradición, comida, cualquier cosa que se sienten orgullosos de su cultura, de sus raíces, que les gustaría compartir con la comunidad.
I already know, so but I'll let somebody go first.
Yes.
No, these questions are hard because then you have to think of like one specific thing, and you're like,
You can share a couple, puedes compartir algunas diferentes.
Go with food.
I'll get started. I love playing loteria in the house.
Okay.
I love playing loteria, and my grandkids are playing with the abuelita and their grandmother, their parents, and that everything's done in Spanish, right? And you know, la serena, la chalupa, la tac. So you're also infusing that culture and the language in that moment. It's a very communal tradition in la loteria. That's one that I love. And of course, I love Dia de los Muertos en los altares.
Sí.
So for me, speaking of Dia de los Muertos, my holiday is Hanal Pishan, because the region that I come from is descendant of Mayans. So we wouldn't celebrate Day of the Dead. Even though we're Mexican, we would celebrate Hanal Pishan. So our altars look a little bit different. So that's something that is very different, and also our food's very different. So my food would be probably more similar to Maria's food, which would be the Central American portion of the areas. And I know this because whenever I traveled to El Salvador, some of the foods were pretty related. So for me, you know, I tell people some of the dishes, and they're like, I have no idea what that is. You know, like pib and cochinita pibil and all those things, and people aren't aware of that. So for me, I'm very proud that we're a little different in the southern part of Mexico.
No, sí compartimos bastante. Bueno, para mí creo que unas tradiciones que estoy muy orgullosa es la comida. Últimamente he estado tratando de aprender diferentes comidas, cómo prepararlas. Pan con pollo en El Salvador no es un sándwich, es un pan y es un pedazo de pollo y una salsita ahí bien rica. Cómo hacer pupusas. Compré un costal de elotes y hicimos, no lo van a conocer, pero riwas, que es como un corn patty, y atol de elote. Cosas que yo siempre he visto cuando voy a El Salvador que lo están vendiendo, pero yo nunca me había atrevido en mi vida a hacer. Y dije, no, tengo que aprender, porque si no continuamos la tradición. Así que ahorita aprender todos esos platos típicos de El Salvador ha sido algo bien importante.
Carlos.
Sí, para mí algo interesante es ver cómo, o sea, ya estando aquí los latinos modifican quizás ciertas costumbres o días especiales que ya existen aquí en Estados Unidos. Un ejemplo es el Día de Acción de Gracia o el Día del Pavo, como le dice mucha gente. porque pues tú sabes, históricamente los estadounidenses se juntan en familia y tienen un gran evento, pero los latinos, especialmente los inmigrantes, realmente no es algo que celebraban en sus países de origen, así que para muchos viene siendo como un día más. Pero, verdad, en el calendario laboral muchos descansan, o sea, no tienen trabajo ese día, así que algo que al menos sucede en muchas comunidades es que el día de Acción de Gracias, como los hombres pues no trabajan, es uno de los pocos días que descansan, se hacen muchos torneos de fútbol o cosas así como en comunidad, porque no puedes normalmente, o sea, jugar con tus amigos o pasarla porque siempre estás trabajando. Entonces tener ese día para poder hacer un torneo, poder hacer algo y celebrar ese día libre de una manera, quizás no comiendo pavos, pero por ejemplo muchos guatemaltecos que conocen, e incluso he visto que han hecho como tamales de pavo, que es como es algo medio raro, ¿verdad? Pero o sea, son cosas que uno se va adaptando y va fusionando la cultura de su país con la cultura estadounidense y salen cosas muy interesantes, así que es muy curioso ver cómo las cosas van adaptando y uno adapta su cultura con la cultura estadounidense para hacer una fusión nueva.
Turkey tamales on
Sí.
Thanksgiving. That's interesting. I hadn't heard that one.
No, hay que probar, tan buenos.
Voy a pasar por la fila. Give me your favorite, maybe your favorite plate and snack from your country or from wherever. What is just your favorite? I can go first. Mine is, I'm from Mexico, I'm from Monterrey, so mine is enchiladas. And then my snack is like elote en vaso, like corn, and just in a cup. It's just my favorite thing. I can eat that all the time. So, Carlos.
Well, my favorite is, a mí me gusta comer empanadas porque I feel like every Latin American country has a different variation of an empanada. So if you have a Uruguayan or Argentinian empanada, it's very different than the empanadas you eat in other countries. So I feel like most countries have some sort of variation, even though they might not call it an empanada. So that's really, I don't know, I like going, because I feel like, once you start interacting, I didn't have Venezuelan food until I was probably 20, 21, where there started, more Venezuelans started coming to the US. And I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. They have different types of food, different variations, but it's all at the same, an overarching theme. So I don't know why I've always stuck out to me.
And now just list me your food so we can get to other questions as well.
Pupusas, and the snack, nuegados de yuca.
Okay.
For me, on Sundays, cochinita pibil, and then the snack, it would have to be anything with chamoy y tamarindo.
And me, my favorite is, for all the quinceañeras that I've been to growing up, mole. Mole is my favorite.
Good.
And also my dessert will be arroz con leche canela top.
That's a good one. Now let's talk about what are some of the misconceptions about the Latino community that you would like to correct. Maybe some people might have some things that they think are true, but we might say, no, that's not really the case for us. ¿Qué son unos mayores malentendimientos sobre la comunidad latina que te gustaría aclarar?
I mean, creo que para mí era eso. Como digo, soy de El Salvador, entonces, eso es en México. Y yo, no. Y cuando yo estaba pequeña, estaba en middle school, high school, yo dibujaba todo el mapa. Yo les decía, mira, esto es Centroamérica, esto es Sudamérica. O sea, geography has always been my favorite. Pero era algo que yo solo quería que todos entendieran, de que existen muchos más países con tanta cultura, diferentes dialectos. La misma palabra en todos nuestros países puede significar algo completamente diferente. Y creo que eso es algo bien importante, que el lenguaje, a pesar de que hablamos español, no es igual, y necesitamos tener conciencia de eso para no tener malos entendidos y para asegurar de que estamos siendo inclusivos con nuestra comunidad.
Es un muy buen punto. That's a good point. She mentioned that even though we are all Latinos and we speak Spanish, that we could have one word and it's a different word in every country and it's the same thing. And some people may not know that. They think Spanish is just Spanish from Mexico maybe or Spanish from Spain, and it's not the same thing. We have so many. Now, you talked about something that I would like for everybody else to kind of address as well. How can we support each other across nationalities to show unity and strength as a community? Because we do come from many different places. ¿Cómo nos apoyamos entre nosotros a través de las nacionalidades para mostrar unidad y fortaleza como comunidad aquí en Estados Unidos?
Well, I think it's, I see this very much as a generational thing, because especially people like myself who we grew up in the United States our whole lives, I see that division not as big of an issue, because I feel like most of my friends were from different countries, or our parents are, but we kind of all feel the same. So I think, you know, once we realize that in this country we have a lot more things that unite us and divide us, I think that's a good starting point. And, you know, there's a lot of conflict, you know, between different nationalities in Latin America. I know, for example, you know, historically, like if you see currently what's going on in Mexico and how people from Central America are treated in Mexico and stuff like that, sometimes that gets brought here to the United States. But I think, you know, once we realize that we're better off if we put our nationalities and our differences aside and just kind of adopt a more unified, you know, we're all Latinos and we're all in this together type mentality, I think that's really the key thing. And then, you know, we're all here for the same reason, whether we're from Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, donde sea. We all came to the United States because we believe in this country, we believe in the opportunities it provides, and we want a better future for ourselves and our families. So I think that should be enough to, you know, get us all in the same boat.
Yeah, Priscila?
I think for me, it's about representation. I think one of the things that whenever I started in leadership, it was really hard for me to find the pipeline on how to get involved. And I always felt like the generation should have done a better job at, you know, integrating the younger generations, because we're hungry, we're driven, we want that change, and we want to be there for community. So the only way that we could do that is if we have the community support when we're, you know, getting involved and trying to make a difference in our communities. So that would be one of the ways. And then representation, meaning like if you see somebody that looks like you and is like you, then you know you can be that, but it's ensuring that you're not just opening the table for yourself, you're opening for others, not just for yourself and your community. So it's important to like empower and uplift others in that way.
If you want people at home to take something away from tonight, what would you want it to be? ¿Qué les gustaría que las personas que están viendo esta conversación que se recuerden? What does being Latino mean for you today, and what would you like for them to remember? ¿Qué quieren que se recuerden el día de hoy?
Creo que lo más importante, perdón.
Oh, no, I didn't know what order we were in.
It's kind of like a free-for-all.
No, creo que lo más importante es de que hay poder en unidad y que todos tenemos, así como dice Priscila, tenemos que crear espacios para todos, ¿verdad? Entonces no solamente nuestra comunidad, sino que todas las comunidades latinoamericanas, recordarnos de eso, de que al final unidad es poder.
Dr. Lira?
No, I just want to say that, you know, we live in a very competitive society. This is America, where it's built on competition and capitalism, and we compete against each other for the resources that are there. What we need to do in order to be more united, it sounds really great to be united, but it's a very difficult thing to accomplish, because what we need to learn is to understand each other first. For example, I need to learn your culture from El Salvador, Uruguay, eres de Uruguay, los de Argentina, de Honduras, quiénes son sus presidentes, quiénes son sus líderes, quiénes son ellos, and vice versa. They need to understand our culture. If I go to New York, I have to understand the Puerto Rican culture. If I go to Miami, I understand the Cuban culture and their heroes and their nuances. If I go to Washington, where there's a lot of Salvadorians, I have to learn their culture to understand them and to embrace them, not to compete with them. So we have limited resources, so therefore we have to understand to be compassionate. And what unites us are two things: language, podemos hablar español y nos entendemos, and religion. And let's not forget religion, the power of religion, how that is so ingrained in our culture. We cannot, especially Mexicanos, Centroamericanos, forget La Virgen de Guadalupe, Dia de la Virgen. That is a phenomenal cultural event that happens con los matachines. It just enriches us, and it provides understanding and spiritual context. And if we don't start there, we'll always be competing against each other. And we have to learn that in America, we have to support each other and have compassion and compete less against each other to have more unity.
Yeah. Carlos?
Yeah, I guess, you know, my message for the non-Latino community, a lot of times I see people who see the growth of Latinos in the United States, and they feel worried, they feel scared, they feel threatened almost, because they have this perception, right, that Latinos are going to fundamentally change American culture and things will never be the same. But what I've realized, especially growing up here in Texas, is that Latinos are very similar to, the other cultures and ethnicities that are out there. For the vast majority of us, we believe in the same God, we go to the same churches, we have the same family values, we agree on many issues, and we might not look the same, we might not speak the same language, but fundamentally we align on, I think, most issues that matter. And I think that's really what we should, focus on. I think there's a lot of division right now of that you're this or you're that. But fundamentally, we all, whether we're Latino or any other ethnicity or race, I think all of us just want the same things. We want our families to be well off. We want good paying jobs. We want to be happy, secure, stable. And we want to be able to have these liberties, to go to church, to go send your kids to school, et cetera, et cetera. So I think, putting away this notion that we are a threat to this country or whatever it may be, and instead focusing, hey, we have a lot more in common. And at the end of the day, if we're in the United States, it's because we love this country, we love what it stands for, and we want to be a part of it. And I think we already are a part of it, whether some people want to recognize it or not.
Yeah, Priscila, what is your message?
I think along Carlos's lines, I think it's important to remember that we're a resilient community and we have done a lot for this country. Not only that, but I heard it from somebody that said it recently, and they said Latinos are writing a love letter to the United States of America through our resiliency, our hard work, and we're here. And we are the future, but that doesn't mean you should be scared of the changes that come, because already in Houston, we account for 44% of the population. And if anything, it's brought positive changes. So it's very important to remember that when you think of that. We're already a growing majority here, and we contributed a lot to the diversity and what makes Houston beautiful.
And now, lastly, how can people at home and people who are going to be watching this, not just in Houston, but wherever they watch this, how can they celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month? ¿Qué le pueden decir a las personas que nos están acompañando y igual a los latinos, cómo pueden celebrar el mes de la herencia hispana? What can they do to celebrate?
I would say, supporting small businesses. Latinos have a very high rate of opening up businesses, all types of businesses, restaurants and stores, everything you can imagine. There's probably a Latino business. So I mean, supporting those small business owners, a lot of them, who have a hard time getting on their feet, getting exposure. And I think it's really cool, when I go to like a Latino-owned business and I see people who aren't Latino there, and you speak to them and they're like, yeah, I just love, the service that they give. I think Latinos are very welcoming people, very loving people. And I think that's a great way to learn about the culture. I mean, I've met a lot of people who've fallen in love, with countries or even with people because of, through food or through sport or whatever it may be. So I think having that exposure, and that, ability to try new things is a great way to, come into community.
Yeah.
I think it's sharing traditions. I always say I might be like the most Colombian Salvadoran there is. I grew up with Colombianos, and I can make arepas, and I go and make arepas to everybody. And I'm like, you know what? And we now make arepusas. So we use the arepa and then dough and make pupusas. And so, but it's sharing those little things with people in your community, and then that I think kind of sparks others to do the same.
Yeah, Priscila?
Yeah, I think to support us, opening doors where we're not already there. Something that I learned is that 2% of venture capital in the US of America goes to Latinos. That's it. That's all we get, and we account for a lot more of the population. And there's people in different spaces that could be opening those doors up for us, like Carlos said, with small businesses, like supporting us. So I think that's one of the ways that you can do, but also learn about our histories and about the heroes that have gotten us here. Like if you want to post about Cesar Chavez on your page, like you should, even if you're not a non-Latino, and maybe share a little about that history and what that means to you and what changes it also had on your life as an American.
Dr. Lira?
I'm just going to bring it back home. I think if we start celebrating in our homes, let us have the festivities in our homes. Right now, a lot of our and in my situation, a lot of our friends and some of our family members have gone into the shadows of society, and they're afraid to come out. They're afraid to travel. I mean, even this Saturday with the Canelo fight, we've always had big celebrations. No one shame, because they don't want to travel across the city for the fear that's out there. So celebrate at home. Take pride in your culture. Play your loteria. Have your festivities. Have your carne asada. Celebrate. Learn the history. Share the history with the next generation, with the grandkids, the children. That is so important. The language, and let's not forget that. And things will get better, but at these times, keep it at home. Stay home, and that's where everything starts. That's the nucleus. And once it's ingrained in you, your celebration and your culture, tus valores y tus tradiciones, it's going to come forth to society.
Amazing. Well, thank you all for joining us today. I really appreciate you having this conversation. I myself know that I learned so much from all of you, being from different backgrounds and cultures and countries. You learn so much. Aprendemos mucho de esta conversación. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos el día de hoy. And thank you all at home for watching as well. We have a lot of other content for you, including more discussions like this one. You can watch those for free right here on KHOU 11+.